why don't we do some salt? Why don't we sprinkle some salt on Nancy Pelosi today?
Hell yeah.
All right. So, after rejecting a $1.8 trillion stimulus proposal from Donald Trump prior to the general election taking place, Nancy Pelosi is now urging Congress to vote in favor of a $900 billion stimulus proposal by, in a bipartisan effort. This was proposed by the so-called Problem Solvers Caucus. In reality, it's dog shit, to put it lightly. And what it does is it essentially provides liability protections for corporations if their employees get sick from coronavirus, if they die from coronavirus. It does not offer the $1,200 checks that Americans were receiving through the CARES Act. It's just an incredibly watered down nonsense proposal. And it's amazing that Pelosi has gone from, no, I'm not going to take a $1.8 trillion proposal. By the way, Democrats were willing to go down to $2 trillion from what they had proposed earlier, which was $4 trillion. But now that the election is over and she has essentially no leverage, she's saying that congressional lawmakers should vote in favor of this watered down proposal. So Jeff Stein from the Washington Post tweeted this, and I think it's telling, asked why she's on board with an apparently smaller, not apparently, it is a smaller coronavirus bill. Jeff Stein. Okay. Smaller coronavirus package. Speaker Pelosi cites the game changer of vaccine development and Biden's election. And then he quotes her saying, that's okay now because we have a new president, a president who recognizes we need to depend on science. She also said in regard to refusing to accept the $1.8 trillion proposal by Trump, that was not a mistake. That was a decision that has taken us to a place where we can do the right things without, should we say, other considerations in the legislation that we don't want. I'm very proud of where we are. But, okay, so be specific, because I stupidly was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt in regard to what Republicans and Trump were proposing through that $1.8 trillion bill, because it did include that liability protection for corporations. And I think that's unacceptable, right? Because we've seen what these companies have done in refusing to protect their employees. I mean, just read the details of what the Tyson meatpacking plant did. They were packing these employees in close proximity to one another, refusing to give them protective gear. Management was upstairs taking bets on how many of their employees would get sick and potentially die. I mean, horrendous stuff. But I'm an idiot, right? Even at this point, I'm naive enough to think that Nancy Pelosi has, I guess, some moral, compass, some worry about employee. She's not worried about any of that. It was purely political. She didn't want to give Trump a win prior to the election. That's it. I'm rambling, and we have a Pelosi video, but I want you to jump in before we go to that Pelosi video.
You're 100% right. I mean, it's not just they gave away their leverage, right? They gave away their leverage in the original CARES package. They gave Mitch McConnell everything he wanted, which was just trillions of dollars for corporations. That was the biggest thing he needed to make investors whole. I mean, it's why the stock market's doing so well. I think it just hit like a record high in the S&P 500, which is so strange in the middle of like a stopped economy essentially. And it's and so they gave away all their leverage in the CARES Act. Once it was over in August, like once the sort of expanded unemployment insurance ran out, once the $1,200 checks ran out, once the rent moratoriums and all that stuff, the foreclosure moratoriums are going to run out in December. Like they don't have any. Mitch McConnell has no reason. I mean, he would like the 5-year exemption from liability for coronavirus for corporations. He'd like that, but he got like 98% of what he wanted. That's just like the little extra 2% on the top. So yeah, there's just no leverage. And then the only sort of small glimmer of leverage they had is when there was a desperate Trump trying to win re-election. And it is true, had he passed the $1.8 trillion stimulus package a month or two before the election, it probably would have helped them a couple points. That's undeniably true. But it is also true that people are suffering, and like majorly, and I don't know. I still believe that they probably should have taken the deal and taken their chances on the election. I mean, they didn't do great anyway. But
Yeah.
I think that they probably should have taken that deal, because now the incentive for Republicans is completely the opposite. I mean, this
Right.
bipartisan problem solvers caucus did not include Mitch McConnell. Like, that's the key thing to understand, is like, and unless Mitch McConnell like brings this thing to a
Mitch
vote.
McConnell's against it.
Of course
Mitch
he's
McConnell's
against
like,
it. He
I'm
doesn't
not
want
going to
it.
sign on to anything above $500 billion. That's it. And this,
even if they did come up with some sort of new $500 billion thing, like, I could see him just moving the goalposts yet again, because he has zero incentive to do this. You know, why would he give Biden even a modicum of a win ahead, like just to start off his presidency? Like, he won't. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm skeptical of even this paltry little thing will come to pass, because there's no leverage. There's no reason why he would pass it.
Yeah, so we also have video of Nancy Pelosi being asked about this, and she's gotten super like snippy with anyone who asks her, even like the smallest question that might be a little bit challenging, right? Like this, just anyway. Watch how she handles this question. It's pathetic.
Look, I'm going to tell you something. Don't characterize what we did before as a mistake, as a preface to your question, if you want an answer. That was not a mistake. It was a decision, and it has taken us to a place where we can do the right thing without other, shall we say, considerations in the legislation that we don't want. So we're very pleased at where it is, and as I say, with a Democratic president committed to a scientific solution for this, with the idea that we will have a vaccine, it's a complete game changer from them.
Average Americans are not going to have access to this vaccine until, if they're lucky, the spring, like mid-spring, maybe even early summer. Okay. Market Watch put out a story this morning about how Wall Street is likely to have access to the vaccine before our healthcare workers.
Let's go, baby.
Before
Let's
our
go.
healthcare workers.
The money's got to move, baby. The money's got to move. Zipping around. The stock's got to go up and down. The Bloomberg terminal's got to be fired up. Hell yeah. Ugh, it's so depressing.
But now there are other considerations. Like, what are you talking about? You messed up. She knows it, but she doesn't care. She doesn't care. It was all purely political for her. In her head, she didn't make a mistake.
No.
Because jeopardizing the outcome of the general election is what the priority was. The priority was not to look out for Americans who have been laid off. It was not to look out for Americans who are facing eviction. She's never cared about that. If she did care about that, if she actually understood the political moment, she wouldn't be stupid enough to put out a video posing in front of her $2,400 refrigerator. $24,000.
Yeah.
$24,000 refrigerators. Each one's
Yeah.
$12,000. She put that video out in the beginning of the pandemic. As tens of millions of Americans are losing their jobs.
Licking that ice cream.
She does not care.
No.
Does not care.
She's kind of like, there's similarities between Nancy Pelosi and Neera Tanden in the sense that they're like, the left hates them and the right hates them so much, like that there is no benefit. Like, they don't get points from the right for like punching left all the time. Like, the right hates them just as much. Like, Nancy Pelosi is a bigger drag on congressional election, on some random person than the slogan defund the police. Like, Nancy Pelosi is like they see her as like this like far left San Francisco communist on the right.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So like, yeah, whenever the left is attacking Pelosi, they automatically draw these false equivalencies between the right and the left, right? Like the whole horseshoe theory that makes me want to pull my hair out. No, the GOP has a vested interest in painting Democratic leadership, regardless of how neoliberal they are, as a threat to our economy, to capitalism, to all of that. Yeah. We disagree. We hate on her for something completely different, because she's actually the enemy of equality in this country, economic equality. She's the enemy. Like, when we were talking to Corey Robin, I think one of the questions you asked, somewhere in the question you said, like, who should we be fighting right now? And the answer is the Democratic Party. They're our number one
That's what
enemies.
I think. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
they're the step one. They're step one to, we got to get through them before we can do anything else. That's 100% true. And yeah, it's yeah.